What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay. Listen, we're in the same boat tonight, man. These two guys are getting old. We just talked about having to drink a cup of coffee, stay awake for the evening show, man. I tell you, another 5 years, Tim, we're going to bump this up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon so we can get to bed early. You know what I mean?
5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, right after our dinner.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We got the chat filing in here. This looks like it's going to be a good crowd. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. If you would hit that like button on your way in as we get set here on this glorious Saturday, January 25th. Tim, we had a note to highlight the playoff games tomorrow a little bit, and I completely forgot. So maybe we'll pull that up by the end of the show. But we got a bunch of questions from the Patreon group. Got a little bit
playoffs.
We got a little bit of news breaking across the NFL as well with some of these coaching hires. So let's just jump right into that, man. Matter of fact, first of all, Deadfish in the chat. Clayton, thanks for looking up Joshua Gray and Savion Williams last night. Got to see it at about 1 a.m. this morning. Good deal, Deadfish. Hey, appreciate the recommendation there, man. That's what makes this time of year fun for sure. We got more of those coming up here in the Patreon group as well. So first things first, though, here, Tim, we got a little bit of news broke earlier today. I think it was earlier today. Adam Schefter said a new GM in New York. The Jets are hiring Broncos assistant GM Darren Maugi as their general manager per sources. Watch it be Moogie, and I completely botched it. He's worked with 3 head coaches who reached the Super Bowl: Sean Payton, Gary Kubiak, and John Fox. That's really interesting there, that last part. Obviously, being around some great head coaches, he knows what it takes to put together a good team. So the Jets seem to have their guy there in New York. Also, Kelvin Shepard with the Lions. Okay, the Lions are promoting linebackers coach Kelvin Shepard to defensive coordinator, filling the shoes of Aaron Glenn, per me and Mike Garafolo, says Ian Rappaport. A quick rise for the 8-year veteran. Shepard earns a DC job in only his 3rd season under Dan Campbell. So obviously they're staying in-house with that DC hire there with the New York Jets. We'll get to that maybe here in a minute. What do you think about the new DC in Detroit there, Tim? Obviously, Dan Campbell just hiring from within. I love when an opportunity comes available for a guy who's kind of been a part of the organization as opposed to just bypassing people going outside the building. I kind of think what you're doing is you're creating an incentive, right, for players and coaches like, hey, if you do good here, we will reward you on your way up the ladder. You know what I'm saying? But
yep.
What do you think about this hire right here from Detroit? Probably going to try to continue to do the same thing Aaron Glenn was doing, I would imagine.
I would think so, and I think this is Dan Campbell trying to keep whatever consistency he can possibly have with his staff, given that a lot of people are parting ways. But you're right, you reward good performance and loyalty with a promotion, and you're already shaking things up. You lose an OC, lose your DC. Obviously you want to try and promote from within whenever you can. We're no strangers to that here in Green Bay, right? That's kind of how we do things here at 1265. So you have to respect it. And if anything, from a competition standpoint, as Packer fans, I don't think we should expect the Lions defense to take any steps backwards. I think this is going to be kind of, maybe a new look here and there, but someone who's already in the building. And I'm sure that Detroit defense is still going to be the same dogs that we have seen the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah, I don't expect like any kind of crazy turnover with the roster, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I could see them feeling like they're real close and, hey, let's run it back, maybe tack on some voidable years and just get the same guys back in there, try to revamp it, hit free agency a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to find those 1 or 2 pieces to get them on over the hump. And really, man, as much as I hate the Lions, you got to give them credit because even with all those injuries, they were playing damn good football.
I wonder if they're going to bring this guy back. They bringing him back?
I don't know if he'll be back allowed in the building, man. I believe there's been some restraining orders put on this cat right here, to be honest with you, man. He looks like the type of guy that got to watch you back in the locker room. You know what I'm saying? A little weird there. So obviously, for those of you on the pod, we're talking about that awkward picture of the Lions kicker or punter, whoever. I think it was their kicker, if I remember right. Might have been their punter. Looked like he was showing the turf there, whatever stadium they were in, that just how much he cares about it. We'll just leave it at that. All right. So there you go. Detroit obviously has a new DC there in Motown. So let's see. There was a couple other things here too. We'll go ahead and show it. I seen this on Facebook, man. Somebody posted this in a Facebook group. And it just absolutely broke me up, man. This picture of Cam Newton with this hat and the glasses and the chain and all that, with the turtleneck, somewhat of a turtleneck, and the bow tie with the turtleneck. It looks like it says Cam Newton on First Take today looks like a general from a Command and Conquer cutscene. If you've ever seen that video game, so there you go.
Hundreds of years from now, they'll be studying our civilization, and they'll be looking at Cam Newton going, look at this fella right here.
This is very – look, Nick McSwain said drip. You say so, sir. Of course, as Mandy says, I'm a stick in the mud, so that makes sense, right? Makes absolute sense. Ian Rappaport tweeted out, the Saints are still planning on speaking with former Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy and Eagles OC Kellen Moore, along with their other in-person interviews. And there was a tweet attached to that said, staying home, Bills OC Joe Brady, the architect of the Buffalo offense, has elected to remain with the Bills and pull out of the Saints head coaching search, per me and Tom Pelissero. It goes on to say, New Orleans have wanted to interview Brady a second time, along with Kellen Moore. Brady sticks in Buffalo. So he's kind of taking that Ben Johnson approach from last year. So hopefully it works out for Joe Brady. You know, you always risk that chance of kind of what happened to Slowick in Houston, where all of a sudden your side of the ball struggles and you're not a hot commodity to be a head coach anymore. You almost have to strike when the iron's hot. But I do respect a coordinator for kind of sticking around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot of changes on the horizon. Kellen Moore, I can't put my finger on what I think is gonna happen with him. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's gonna get, a shot at all?
I don't know, man. He was highly touted when he was in Dallas, and then of course Mike McCarthy fired him because he didn't like his play call, and he said that he was trying to run the score up instead of win ball games, right? Which is a real thing. It is.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me going back and forth with fans during the season when we quote unquote take our foot off the throttle in the second half, when that's what Mike McCarthy's talking about, is like at some point the clock becomes your opponent. And Mike said, I was an OC once. I know exactly what Kellen's doing. I understand what he's trying to do. You're wanting a head coaching job. You want to put up points and show, hey, I'm the best offensive coordinator, but our job is to win ball games, right? Is essentially what he said. So, when it comes to that, he goes to the Chargers, right? If I remember correctly. And that whole staff gets canned, and he gets back on with Philly, and now Philly having another great year. The fact that they're still in the playoffs is probably what's slowing that down. I could see Kellen Moore, now that Joe Brady has pulled his name out of that hat here for the Saints, I could see Kellen Moore being the leading candidate now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me one bit. Let's see if we go back here real quick. Again, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore. They didn't mention anybody else specifically to the best of my knowledge. But, yeah, that's kind of how that sits right now.
Wouldn't that be something if Kellen Moore doesn't get the job and it's Mike McCarthy that gets the job in New Orleans?
See, that's who I would pick. I would, if I were the Saints, I would take Mike McCarthy. And You guys know how I feel about Coach Mike. I don't think Kellen Moore would be like this horrible choice. And who knows, he may be one of these great play callers that turns into just a wonderful head coach. But if it were me with the Saints, I would personally hire Mike McCarthy. I think that's your best shot to get that turned around quicker, sooner rather than later. And he's a guy who's got Super Bowl experience.
Yeah. I don't think Big Mike's going to bring Kellen Moore in to be his OC, though.
No, probably not going to happen. I imagine Kellen Moore's going to go right back to the Eagles if that's the case. But, the other thing, too, is let's say Kellen Moore gets the job with New Orleans. I want to get your take on this, Tim. Let's say Kellen Moore gets the job with New Orleans and Coach Mike does not get a head coaching job. Let's just assume that happens. Mike McCarthy still has a house in Green Bay. They still call Green Bay home. Bring him in as a assistant, right? Hey, move back home, work on the staff. Because, the big thing with Coach Mike coming up through the coaching ranks is he was quality control. Many great head coaches were, before they became head coaches, they were quality control coaches, right? Kind of understanding everything about the organization from a coaching standpoint and making sure everything is on time and peak condition and all those things. I would love to have Mike McCarthy on this staff. I think that would be absolutely awesome. Now, some are going to say, when was the last time that's happened, that a coach gets fired from an organization, He goes somewhere else for a couple of different terms or whatever, and then comes back to the team, not as the head coach, but as an assistant. I understand that argument because there's not much precedent there, if any, right, of that happening in the past. I would just love to have him side by side with Matt LaFleur running things through that filter. Matt LaFleur bouncing ideas off of Coach Mike. I think that would be great, man.
I think crazier things have happened, and I don't think it's that unrealistic to think of that as a possibility. I mean, it feels like it's been 200 years since Mike was here, like water under the bridge, the ship has sailed. That's not a question of, thinking Matt can't do it by himself or anything. It's just you want to get better. I think there's some merit to that thought, Clayton. I don't think that's too crazy.
And Drew D mentioned something here too. Again, Mike McCarthy calls Green Bay home, right? Not that it's his only house. I'm sure he's got multiple with the money he's made throughout his career. But Drew D says maybe McCarthy would go to the Badgers if he can't find a job in the NFL. That sounds like when you first say that out loud or hear it, you think, but it does kind of make sense. Madison, obviously, right there within the state. People in Wisconsin, I feel like they still love Mike McCarthy. Not that anyone wants him to be Green Bay's head coach anymore, but if he went to the University of Wisconsin and kind of took the Bill Belichick approach, right, stepping away from pro and because you didn't get a job and going straight into college like that, that would be hey man, I'd be a Wisconsin fan quick. I'd be pulling for him. I still pull for him because I've got so many friends that live in Wisconsin, and obviously met many Wisconsin Badger fans doing the show that I consider friends, even though they're internet friends, not Jacob's type of internet friends, but just internet friends. We'll leave it at that. Not the ones you meet in passing over at the Oval Office. You know what I'm saying? So, but
I mean, guys like this, right?
Exactly right. Which put that back up, Tim. That's a sweet beanie, by the way, man. I just noticed that.
Oh yeah,
I'll take that. Yeah, a little Miller Lite beanie with Packers on top. Let's go. I think it's probably a double beanie, right?
It could be.
When you got the goods hanging out like that on a cold night.
You probably got to layer up everywhere else you can, right?
Exactly. Anyway, Drew, I love that idea, man. I think that's a good storyline. Now, is Wisconsin's head coach, is he on the hot seat? Because they did not make a bowl game this year, right? If I remember correctly, I was trying to follow along as much as I could. I want to say he's kind of on the hot seat. What's his name? I'm probably going to embarrass myself. Is it Luke Fickell? Am I thinking right?
I believe so. I'm from Wisconsin, and I don't even know. So you're definitely not going to be as embarrassed as I am.
Drew D will hop in here in a minute. Let us know here. I don't hate the idea of Mike McCarthy potentially going to the Badgers, something like that. I think that would be an interesting turn of events for sure. Up next here, this tweet went out that I think Ian Rappaport. Here we go. Drew D says, yeah, you were right, Luke Fickell. That's what I was thinking. So, yeah, and I think I want to say here he goes. Yeah, he said he should be on the hot seat. I don't know if he is. Yeah, again, because I think it was Barry Alvarez, a former Wisconsin Badger coach, that was giving him hell, like the fact that they didn't make a bowl game for the first time in so many years, right? So, probably on the hot seat there a little bit. But anyway, Ian Rappaport tweeted this out from Nick Underhill. It says, I'm told that Cliff Kingsbury hasn't decided whether or not to take an interview with the Saints. He's fully locked in on Washington's season and won't begin evaluating his options until they're done playing. And that's what's crazy, Tim, because most of these jobs have been filled already. And the final four teams in the league here, you would think their OCs and DCs would be kind of the hot commodities. And it looks like teams are getting more and more impatient as the years go on, that, hey, we don't want to wait until after the championship game to make our hire. Let's go ahead and get our guys in here and get started. So,
that's interesting.
Because is the Saints, is that the only job left? Am I thinking right, man?
I believe so. I believe so.
I
don't know why they're so impatient, though.
Right?
Because I'd respond the same way if I was Coach Kingsbury, right? Like, excuse me if I don't have time to take an interview right now, trying to get ready to win a title game, so I don't know. I do think that if Cliff gets an opportunity to be a head coach again, he's going to take it. I mean, It's been a couple of years since his head coaching days at was it Arizona was last head coaching job he had.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're right.
I would think he'd love to be a head coach again, but I kind of respect a guy who's going to say, I don't even want to talk about another team right now until we do what we need to do this year. So I think that's a testament to him as a coach, right? Staying focused on what's in front of him.
Yeah, I would say so too. All right, that's just going around the league with the new coaching, the coaching news across the National Football League, trying to keep you guys up to date on how it may or may not affect different coordinators, different position coaches across the league. So let's move it along here. Let's go back into the Patreon group real quick, Tim. We had a couple questions, and let's see what we got here, where we can start. Johnny in the Patreon group says, thoughts on Ja. At the moment, his stock is down. He already had surgery. Keep him until the trade deadline. Then see what you can get for him, and hopefully he balls out. Then you can get better value. If it were to me, I would just keep him. He is a proven commodity. Tim, I know you're not going to disagree with that. Just keep him, right? If they were to be able to kind of coexist there with some of the things that seem to be going on behind the scenes or have gone on behind the scenes with his most recent comments there as they were cleaning out the lockers after the season ended. I don't think this is a horrible idea. If you don't get what you want in the offseason, then take it up to the trade deadline and see if things are working out. Who knows? Maybe he's healthy next year and he's playing really well, and you go, hey, you know what? This is worth it. I still think you need to try some kind of restructure. But what do you think about that there from John?
No, I agree. I think it's a good point, and I'm with you too. I've always said that, if Ja's going to be here, it's going to be on a restructure. But I think holding on and seeing how things pan out, I think that's a great point. And I'm wondering if that's, an approach that Goody might very well take when it comes to Jaire, especially considering how, the offseason can go. And, comments after a frustrating end to your season during locker room clean out versus a few months later, heading into OTAs or that kind of thing, it could be totally different. So I think we need to see where we're at. Obviously, if Ja's able to be on the field, I think you want a guy like that on your team. I still do. I've got no love lost for Jaire. Our biggest gripe with him has been availability, and if he's going to be available and be able to play at a high level, I would hang on to him. However, there's nothing wrong with waiting it out and seeing what kind of trade market there would be for him, taking it up to the gun there with the deadline. So I think it's a great point.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, we may have to cut the show short. Just got a text message. We'll see how that goes there. May have something to tend to here. No emergency, but we may call it an early night here, Tim. Chris in the Patreon group. We'll get through this one. We may have to wrap up. Clayton, would you rather have T. Higgins at 4 years, 105, or DK Metcalf? I believe in his final year of his extension, $24 million per, so maybe a second-round pick and possibly restructure and extend Metcalf's thoughts, or Garrett Wilson. For me, I think I would rather have Metcalf. I'm not a big T. Higgins guy personally. That's just me. I think I would rather try Metcalf here. What do you think, Tim?
Agree 100%. I'd probably go Metcalf, then possibly Garrett Wilson, I guess. But yeah, I'm not a big T. Higgins guy myself either, in case you haven't read my my tagline here.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, guys, listen, I'm sorry. We're going to have to wrap it up here. Yeah, I got to go take care of something. So I apologize for the inconvenience. We did hit a little bit of the news here, so at least we got some kind of show in. Just got to go take care of some family business. But again, Chris Ian, thank you for that comment. Hate to cut it short. Let me just go to this comment real quick. Or would you take it to what would you take? What would it take to get Wilson? I don't know, man, because he did say that he was probably looking at leaving, right, Tim? So yeah. if Aaron and the guys were back, so I just don't know if the Jets are willing to part with him. What do you think on that? And we'll wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's up to Garrett Wilson, right? Guys try to force their way in and out all the time in this league, and hey, they're changing to the guard over there in New York with a head coach and a GM. So, maybe attitudes change going forward. But ultimately, I don't think it's up to Garrett Wilson. I think it's going to be up to what the Jets want to do with him, right?
I agree, man. Completely agree. All right, guys. Sorry to cut it short. Hey, we got 20 minutes in anyway, right? Better than nothing. Tim, thank you for your time, man. I'm going to go take care of this. We'll see you guys in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau. Everybody have a great night. Appreciate y'all.
And we go.
Bye, guys.